right, you're live.
All set?
Yep.
All right. Call to order the Planning Commission meeting of September 9th, 2020. If I get a motion to adopt this evening's agenda.
So moved.
Need a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Approval of the minutes from the August 12th, 2020 meeting. Anybody have any changes or anything?
So moved.
Give a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Let's see, Old Ocean City Boulevard LLC, site plan approval. Would you like to come up front, introduce yourself, please?
All right, good evening, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well tonight. My name is Jeff Harmon. I'm with Becker Morgan Group. I'm a civil engineer, and I represent the owner of the property on Old Ocean City Boulevard here tonight. We're before you tonight for final site plan approval. We spent some time, I think some of you are probably familiar with this project, others may not. It's kind of been around for a few years, probably 10 or 12 years since it first originally started. It had gone on hold for a little while, and a new developer picked it up and is completing it now. So we're before you tonight having obtained all of our approvals. Currently, SHA plans are done and the plans are approved. We're in the final process of getting the plat recorded for the right-of-way dedication for them. We've been to the erosion sediment control folks. The Conservation District is ready to approve. They're just waiting on the town's stormwater engineer to grant their final approval. We have approval of the stormwater plans, but it's basically just them signing off on it. It's kind of one of the catch-22 situations where, you know, one guy's got to have it approved in order for the other guy to sign, but he's got to have it approved for the first guy to sign. So we're just doing that final coordination on getting all of our signatures on plans and things like that for all of our final approvals. We've been through Maryland Department of the Environment, got that approval. We've been through FEMA and got our letter of map revision based on fill because we are adjacent to a floodplain. So that was approved actually back in April. We have our MDE wetland joint application approved for minor disturbance to adjacent wetlands in the ditch that's next to the site there. So we're all just about wrapped up on all of our approvals and everything and just waiting for final signatures. And this plan is, like I said, some of you have seen this plan very similar before. We have an entrance on Old Ocean City Boulevard, a full access, single lane in, single lane out. And we have a little bit over 12,000 square foot, two-story building to be constructed there. Everyone has a picture of the proposed architecture in front of you there. It's got a coastal style to it, hardy plank siding on it, pitched roof. There is an angled drop-off canopy on that front corner as sort of an architectural feature where you can come in, someone can be dropped off and then continue on into the parking lot to park. We have the required parking on site. We have a stormwater feature to the back. We're doing a natural constructed gravel wetland. This site is got some soils that don't infiltrate very well, so a gravel wetland is actually the perfect type of stormwater management feature for it. It won't be a pond with permanent water stored in it. What you'll see is wetland plantings, the flowering plants and grasses and that sort of thing. There's a landscape plan in your packet there to take a look at. Speaking of landscaping, along the frontage between the street and the parking lot, there will be about a 2.5 to 3 foot high berm constructed to help shield the parking lot from view of the street, and that will have plantings planted on top of it. That was requested back originally when the site plan went through Planning Commission a while back. There will be sidewalks added, shoulder widening for SHA, curbing added. So we're providing all that in accordance with what's been requested by SHA. There's additional landscaping around the perimeter of the building and in the islands. in the parking lot, and I think that's about it. We're here tonight to hopefully answer any questions that you've got, and hopefully you see fit to grant us an approval on our final site plan. So if you got any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Yeah, the first question I have is there still a pool inside this building, or is that long gone?
Currently, there is not a plan for a pool inside of it. I don't know if the owner has secured a tenant yet, so it's up in the air whether or not, at one time it was going to be a physical therapist, but currently we do not have in our building design a pool in it.
Okay. And get, State Highway, are they the ones that have the offset from the hospital? Yours is off by a little bit.
Yeah, the entrance
That's
into
the
the
one that
medical
came
center
up.
across there's a little bit of an offset there for the two entrances. But that's where they wanted the entrance, was at this side of the site, so that's where we put it.
Okay.
I know what personally concerns me is the stormwater. And I live downstream of Kitts Branch,
Mhm.
like right beside Kitts Branch.
Mhm.
And I know during typical storms, summer storms, it floods.
Mhm.
So you said you were waiting for the town signatures on the stormwater.
Mhm.
I think Kitts Branch, isn't it maintained by the county? Does the county have maintained Kitts Branch? Or is
I'm not sure who maintains it, but one of the town's stormwater comments was a requirement for us to clean out our side of the branch.
Right.
To get the bottom of it out, to get rid of the accumulated sediment, and to clean the bank up so that there's not any tall weeds or anything on it, to help with the drainage of it. Also, our stormwater features with the large gravel wetlands in back, that helps store water. So
Right.
from a runoff standpoint, we're reducing the runoff to the branch, even though you're going from what's now an open field, a grassy area, to having some pavement. We are reducing runoff overall from the site because of the stormwater features.
right, you're not doing any pervious pavement, anything?
No, the ground that's there now is not conducive for any kind of infiltration, and that's why we went with a gravel wetland rather than a bioretention. So the groundwater is fairly high in that area, and the building itself is constructed on compacted fill. So in order to raise that up, that's why we had to make that submission to FEMA for the letter of map revision, because the land used to be low. And as I was mentioning before, this project's been around since about 2008, and actually probably even before we started working on it, maybe as early as 2003, 2004. There was originally a permit granted by the Army Corps of Engineers to fill what was wetlands on the site, and that was done probably back in the mid-2000s sometime. And so the fill that they placed there was like structural fill, and it does not infiltrate very well. Structural fill is meant to be tight and supportive and doesn't settle, and so those soils aren't good for infiltration that's there.
How deep is that pond you're doing, that retention pond there?
So from the surface, it's only about 18 inches deep, so it's not really deep. It's going to look like a wetland planting area in the back, so you won't see what you think of as a traditional pond where there's a water level and then maybe a 4 or 5 foot deep pond there. This is going to be closer to the surface, and it's going to look a more natural area than a stormwater pond. The only time it will have water in it is during a rain event. And the way a gravel wetland works is it stores water in a gravel layer below the ground surface, and the plants that are planted there, their roots sort of uptake the nitrogen and phosphorus that runs off from the parking lot and comes through the rainfall, and it filters all of that. Then when a storm event comes, the water comes in on the surface and filters down through the surface soil, and it pushes the water out that's in the stored in the bottom. So it pushes, dirty water comes in, pushes clean water out, then that water sits there to be cleaned by the plantings before the next storm event comes. So you'll only see during a storm event about 12 inches of water in those planting areas, and then will very quickly go down within less than 24 hours probably.
Right. We're waiting for who to sign off on them?
So final plans are at the town's engineer for stormwater management. We've addressed all of their comments, and they were submitted last week with the very final comments taken care of. As soon as the town's engineer signs off on the stormwater, then the conservation district will sign off on the plans. We've had plan approval, meaning they have no more comments. We've completed the plans and addressed all their comments back in, let me pull up my notes here. We received approval around March 1st on erosion and sediment control. They will not sign off until the town's stormwater engineer signs off, so that's all we're waiting on there is the town's stormwater engineer to sign off. And then State Highway again, we've addressed all their comments, the final plans are into them. We're waiting on them to record the right-of-way dedication plat. So,
And I would say that, the town uses EA Engineering, have for many years for all our stormwater reviews. If it's in the town and it's permitted in town, they do our review. They are, like Mr. Harmon's saying, they are in the final stages of the review. They come through me, so I see them and then I distribute them to the appropriate engineer. The last comment, they sent out a letter talking about points they wanted to see tweaked on the stormwater plan. But that's EA's job for us, is to make sure that they're not discharging stormwater off the site, that it's stored and handled on the site. So the Kitts Branch, they're not supposed to be elevating the level of discharge into Kitts Branch. That's not part of this plan. They're not using that to dump all the rainwater. That's why he has the stormwater, the gravel facility at the rear. And his other grading and underground piping is to handle the stormwater on site. That's the idea. So it's not going to be filling up Kitts Branch.
Right, so the parking lot in the downpour, the rainwater from the parking lot should not, some may end up in Kitts Branch, but the majority of it should not go towards Kitts Branch.
That's
correct. All of, let's see if I can find the right page here for you. I'll show you the piping plan. All of the parking lot and the building roof drains to catch basins and pipes, and they all go to the rear of the site to the gravel wetland here. So we have this part of the parking lot drains to a curb opening here that dumps into the gravel wetland. And then the front part of the parking lot in the building, there's roof leaders that come out, and then this catch basin, collect all the water from the front part of the site and dump it out into this end of the gravel wetland here. So all of it's being collected from the parking lot and going into the gravel wetland.
Okay. All right.
I'm always the tree guy, so you're gonna have like a 3-foot berm in the front along the road?
Yeah, so there's an elevation difference between the street and the parking lot. The parking lot's about a foot lower than the street. So on the street side, you're gonna see a berm that's about 2 foot tall is the tallest part, probably between 18 inches and 2 foot. But then because the parking lot's lower, the berm is actually about 3 foot tall on the parking lot side. So that will help hide the front of all the cars. So you won't see those from the street. The plantings will help hide the rest of it. I mean, it's not going to be so dense that it will completely obliterate the front of it so you can't see the building or the cars. But it's going to screen most of that parking lot so you don't see the pavement, you don't see the parking lot. You'll see probably the roofs of the cars and the glass part up. But most of it will be screened, the lower part of the cars in the lot.
So am I seeing like 3 taller trees in circles? Are they trees?
Yeah,
Yep, let me go to the landscape drawing.
that's plan.
Yeah, I looked at that, but I can't tell what I'm looking at. I want to know what they are and how tall they're gonna be.
Well, it says maple, red maple and service berry.
So yeah, the 3 trees are service berries. It's the kind of planting, there'll be an 1.5 inch caliper. And then there's shrubs and
I'm more concerned with the trees. So the tree, how tall are the trees gonna get someday?
I honestly don't know how tall a service
Not that
berry
tall.
is.
Red maple is not gonna get that tall.
So it's the red maple,
Yes.
so, yeah. I've always had a vision for this road as becoming a boulevard of some substantial trees, but
What's
I
wrong
guess,
with trees?
excuse me,
What's wrong with trees?
what's wrong with trees?
Yeah, that's what we're asking, is what's wrong with trees?
Yeah,
I
I mean,
just want height and
Yeah, that's what I mean.
monumental trees.
Some monument trees, like
yeah, we can certainly.
willow oaks or something, you know,
Uh-huh.
something that's gonna get big,
Okay,
and in 40 years, everybody's gonna be happy we did that here tonight.
yeah, that would be fine. If there's something you would prefer to see there, I don't have any objection at all to making a change to that. So if there's an oak or a specific species of tree or something that you'd like to see there, then.
Well, the willows will be easier on you for lead maintenance, and they're pretty fast growing,
Uh,
and they get a pretty good crown.
Okay,
Willow oak.
willow oak.
That's okay with me, just something that's monumental and has some height.
Okay,
Quercus,
yeah,
Quercus phalos.
Ron's the expert, I'm not.
okay.
And then the two trees up closer to the building, I don't really care if they're not bigger, if they're like maples or something, that's okay with me. The ones closer to the building.
Yeah,
That's where you put the surface berry, because they don't get too big, and they're nice looking, and they're thin,
Yeah.
you can see through them.
okay. Yeah, so we could certainly
Yeah.
move the service berries to the parking lot islands and then put you said willow oaks along the road frontage, so, yeah,
Yeah,
we can do
okay,
that.
thank you. I mean, really, we've lost so many trees in these storms, town's looking bare. My gosh. It was, my neighbor cut down a huge walnut because it scared him. Now I got no shade.
Uh-oh, yeah.
We're just losing a lot of monumental trees because people are scared of them. And I don't want you to have to plant trees that interfere with your business, but I think this boulevard would look good with some big trees out there, so.
Okay.
The sidewalk, is it gonna be basically a planned sidewalk, or are you guys gonna go ahead and build it?
Oh, no, we're proposing to build it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's part of the SHA approval to have it.
Just get it done?
Yep.
Thank you, that's all I have.
Okay.
What's a four-bay?
Forebay is an area of the stormwater feature where the water initially comes in, and the thought is that it's kind of like a stilling basin is another term for it, where any sediment that happens to be on the parking lot or any kind of debris and stuff.
So they're
can be held.
they're dumping into, they're into the pond near it. They're just trying to filter out some of it.
It's a pre-treatment, yeah.
If you go down to the one on Graham Avenue, the new one,
Right.
both ends from Graham Avenue and 346. That, if you take a look at it when there's no water in it,
Right,
it's segregated,
right.
and both of the ends are exactly what he's talking about.
Okay.
And that is fascinating if you've not seen that work. I mean, it amazes me. It can be right up to the brim, in a couple hours it's gone.
Gone, right.
And it doesn't go, DJ's point, it doesn't go out into the ditch or, it's amazing to me.
And Jeff, were you a part of the last, or maybe it wasn't the last, Becker Morgan large building in town, over on Ocean City Road?
The, across the street?
Across the street from the chicken plant. Old chicken plant. The rec-
No, I think that was Bob Simpkins, he's not,
Okay.
yeah.
When Becker Morgan was here and they showed us their elevation, there wasn't any huge air conditioning things on the roof.
Mhm.
We're not going to be surprised by any HVAC stuff on the roof of this building, are we? Because that's not acceptable.
No, this is not a flat roof, and it does not have like a mechanical.
Nor is the one down there a flat roof.
Are you talking about the activities depot?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they all of a sudden showed up, and they're looking pretty bad.
So with the MEP coordination that we've done so far, they have not told us that there's going to be any large HVAC equipment.
Okay, we need to know that before we approve anything. And it needs to be, somebody needs to put their name on it.
Yeah, I honestly am not sure.
That's
If
gonna
I
be a
had to
condition.
guess, now what I do know about this is this is going to be built initially as shell space until the space is leased. And so right now, the owner's working on who's gonna go in there. So initially, there's very limited HVAC system in there, like the lobby area will have HVAC for it, and I believe the elevator's got an HVAC unit. Those will be small units around either side or the back. As far as how the rest of the building gets finished, I'm not sure how that will get done. As far as like a cooler or something like that, I would be very surprised. I can't say with any kind of certainty, but looking at the building design, and I'm not the architect, but looking at the building design, there's no place on the roof to put it.
There isn't any place on that one down there either.
There's
They
not.
just
I
built a
haven't
big-
seen it,
Go,
so.
please, go by there
Yeah.
on your way home
Uh-huh.
and tell me how you think that looks.
Well,
It was a big surprise to us.
If that's a condition of approval,
That
I
would
can
be a
certainly
condition.
let the MEP guys know that you've got to
Yeah.
put your equipment out back on the ground and it's not to go on the roof, so.
Surprise.
Okay,
Okay.
yep,
Thank
that's
you.
fine, yep.
Thank you.
Is it, the rendition here, is that the color that's gonna be? And I assume that resembles the Barrett building across the street or close to it, or?
That's my understanding, is that the color, that's the color they've selected. Again, I'm not the architect, so I don't know what conversations the owner's having with the architect right now, but I would like to think that we rendered it the way he wants it to look and not change it. I know they talked about light colors, whether that ends up being, it looks to me to be like a, sort of like a white at the top and like a, almost like a beigey kind of colored cream or something on the bottom band there with the brick around the base. My guess is that's the color that it's gonna be.
That looks like stones around the base.
Yeah, it's
We like
dark
brick.
stone around.
We
the
like
base.
brick.
And the first floor's got kind of that creamy color to it. And then, and it's got more like a horizontal siding on the first floor. And then when you get to the second floor, it transitions to like a vertical plank siding.
Is it board and batten?
It's my understanding it's like a hardy plank kind of thing. I don't know the exact manufacturer, but it's, I do not believe it's metal. I believe it is some kind of a board or a plank,
We
fiber
generally,
cement or something like
we
that.
generally want to see brick on foundations.
Yeah, and it looks like what
They got
are you
stone.
talking about the foundation
Yes,
material?
yes.
I honestly don't know what they're proposing.
Okay, well, we'd like to see brick,
Okay.
And not yellow brick.
yes. A red hue of some type.
Okay. Sort of like earth tones, not.
Look, just look
like-
downtown.
What you see.
Just look downtown.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay?
Salmon
There's
color.
various shades,
Yeah,
pick one.
okay.
The hardy plank, you know more about that than I do. The hardy plank, that,
Pretty, I mean, about as good as you're gonna get. It looks like board and batten up top.
Yeah.
I'm guessing.
The second page of the elevation that you have in black and white, there's a table at the bottom that has the exterior materials legend. The last item on the lower right says board and batten siding, basis of design cedar impressions, which is a vinyl siding,
Ooh,
just so you know.
people like
But
that.
that's the basis that they're drawing off of. That doesn't mean that would be the one that they would necessarily pick. But they're using that Cedar Impressions line for demonstration purposes, I gather, for the horizontal siding and the board and batten. And then it looks like item 5 says 24-inch high stone veneer base with a cast stone cap. So it's a veneer stone that they're showing, could be a veneer brick that they use.
Where do you see cedar impressions, what number was that?
the last thing.
All the way down on the right.
Oh, I see.
It's hard because they're small letters, but And then also item 10, up in the middle of the middle column, vinyl lap side, 6-inch exposure. Basis of design is cedar impressions.
What's wrong with Hardy? You did mention Hardy, right?
That's what I thought they had talked about. Again, I'm not familiar with what the architect's talking with the owner about, so.
And you're looking for approval? There's a lot that didn't. Sir, there's a lot that's not known here.
Well, we can make it a condition.
Okay, you're ready to do that.
Jeff, who's the architect on this job?
Bill Sieg's in our office. It's our office that's doing it.
So is he-
I haven't talked to Bill about the architecture of the building in a while. I don't know if he's made any changes since
Okay.
last time I had heard what they were doing.
But if the commission was to place conditions on it of each of these questions, we could get them pretty quick in writing back to me, so I could let them know that the owners have committed to that, right? You can give me something in
Oh,
writing.
yeah. The only reason I hesitate is I don't want to speak for the owner.
Oh, we get that,
Yeah.
but we're speaking for the people of Berlin.
Yeah.
You know,
So-
because I don't want them to go, I know, I don't want you to speak for them tonight.
Yeah.
If they go ahead and place conditions,
Yeah,
that's what's gonna need to happen.
Yeah.
Bill's gonna have to talk to the owners, you know,
right.
and say, all right, I need to provide them a letter assuring them that they're gonna use Hardy, that they're gonna use a brick of red tone, either complementary to downtown, or, I don't know, if it's complementary to the Barrett building across the street, so that it stays in a boulevard look like Mr. Crosby always talks about.
Right.
And so these are the things that they'd have to be addressed.
Sure.
And then I could share that with them too, before you get putting cedar impressions on there and I have to run out there and say,
Yeah.
rip it down.
Right, exactly.
I
Yeah.
don't want to have to do that.
Yeah, so I guess it's like, they would give conditional approval tonight, and then the owner would have to confirm. If he didn't like that for some reason, he'd have to come back before
Coming
you
back,
could
yeah, coming back.
to request a change,
You know,
yeah.
and I know the project they're talking to about with the AC units. So normally what has happened since then, they've come and said they need to be on the ground and they need to be properly shaded or hidden from view. You don't want to look at that industrial look. I'm
Right.
sure there's a place around the back that we
Yeah.
can figure out where to put these.
Yeah, there's a wide spot around the back
Yeah.
between the building and the
I was
stormwater
looking for it
pond.
on
Yeah.
one of the other plans, if they had a pad anywhere, but
Yeah.
it doesn't look like they show it yet.
Yeah, it's likely that this is gonna be 2, 3, maybe more suites. And so if it's suites, then those are always smaller HVAC units, and so they would be sitting on the back. We wouldn't have one large unit that would need to go on the roof for the whole building. They would, each suite would
You
have
just
its
do a
own
mini
unit.
splits.
Something like that, yeah.
That affects the look too.
Yeah, so.
The mini split stuck on the side of the building.
We won't have.
Well, it won't be on the side of the building, no. It would be all internal to the building.
I'm saying, you know.
Yep. So, yeah. So I would suggest that that's okay with you, that that's a condition, and then I can check with the owner, and if he's got a concern, we can always come back and propose an alternative or give you additional detail if he wants to do something different, some sort of a fiberboard cement siding that, you know, looks more like wood than vinyl, or,
Vinyl's just not happening.
yeah, so. I'm sure there's a product out there that's gonna get the look that you want. You want the wood look,
Solid,
yeah,
not
but,
temporary.
yeah, but, you know, something that, I know he'll want something that's low maintenance, so that he's not out there painting it every other year or something like that, so. But the solid look is what you're looking for, yeah.
Well, Hardy Plank holds paint, uses good paint.
Sure does.
You won't have any
Yeah.
problem.
It'll last a whole lot longer than wood will,
Or vinyl.
yeah.
Anybody else have anything, or?
Yeah, one other small thing. What type of parking lot lighting are you having and what type of building lighting are you having?
First of all, you'll see on, I don't know how well it shows up in your small plan, but there's sconces I believe, that are on the outside of the building here for lighting. They'll get sort of like a wall wash.
But the bulbs won't be visible?
No,
Okay,
no,
all
little
down,
signs
all
are-
down lighting, right?
Yeah, like down lighting.
Everything down lighting.
A wall wash
Okay.
type thing, yeah. It may go up lighting too, I'm not sure what
Well,
the
yeah, but
fixture is.
nothing that you can see.
Exactly,
Okay.
right, yeah, you're not looking at a light bulb
Right.
that's bright. And then in the parking lot, there's a couple of light fixtures that flip over.
They are also down lighting, correct?
Oh, yes, absolutely. That would be a cutoff fixture, that would be all down lighting. Let's see. Oh, you know what, I don't know if I printed the utility sheet, I did not.
Oh, it's here.
Is it on for
Yeah,
one?
yeah.
What sheet is it on? Well, you know, I don't have the sheet that, you probably have the full set, for some reason I don't have one of the sheets. So, yeah, I'm fairly certain there's like 2 or 3 pole lights in the parking lot.
Yeah.
And they're cutoff fixtures, they're the box fixtures that are just down lighting. They're not projecting out in any way.
You said it's on 201?
C301.
Yeah, that's the sheet that I don't have.
You have it?
I just brought a couple sheets to send out and bring the entire construction drawing set, so I don't have sheet 301 with me. I don't want to get too close to you pointing out. If there's, let's see.
I can't see.
Oh, lights. I think that light is turned off on the drawing. There's 1 or 2 lights in the front parking lot, and then there's one on the side, I believe. But yes, as far as the type of fixture, it would be that box fixture that's straight down, and I'll make sure that the final plan set shows them on it, so it's depicted where they'll be.
The parking lot, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's nothing in the back of the building?
I would have to ask the architect if he plans on, probably like a security light back there, just to have a little bit of light, but that area back there doesn't have parking and it doesn't have a public entrance back there, so it wouldn't be intended to light the back of the building up that much.
It's a nice area for kids to go goof off, though.
Hopefully we don't have that.
Any other comments, questions for the?
I have a question. Have you made any provision for signage?
I believe we show a proposed sign, a monument sign that's on the, I guess if you're coming into the site, the right-hand side of the entrance, it's on the left of the entrance, right in this corner up here. I don't have any like signage designed to know what that sign would look like. We haven't really figured that out until he's got his tenant secured. But I believe signage is a separate application, is that correct?
We could make it conditional on a separate application.
Yeah, that's what I'm used to seeing, is they usually come in with a sign application once the sign manufacturer's designed it and figured out what it is that they want. So yeah, we can certainly come in with a separate application for the signage for you.
We made a mistake with Apple Drug and didn't ask about their sign, and so we have an apple that likes to dance.
Ah,
He
okay.
stays up all night thinking about it.
And try to burn the building down.
I don't know about sleep over that one with the right age windows,
So the right aid looks better now.
They didn't paint the diamonds, it's all out there.
The right aid just
Hadn't noticed.
redid
Hadn't
their
noticed?
stuff. They redid
They
their
didn't
thing.
paint the diamonds blue, they kept them with the wall color, and they kind of disappeared.
Yeah, they softened the
Yeah,
look.
but it-
They softened the look.
They turn them a quarter turn, you can't tell they're done.
I know you'll still always see the same, but.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good solution, is to do a separate application so that you guys are comfortable with what gets done. But I know that we haven't thought that far down the road yet as to what that might look like until we get a tenant secured.
That is important to us, so.
Okay.
That's a condition.
Yeah, I certainly understand that.
So all the comments I had.
Anybody else have anything, or? And the color of the rendition is pretty much what we were looking for.
I'm saying the color, keep it light beige-ish, I guess is what we're looking for, right?
Yeah.
Light beige-ish.
And then that's what the area is down there.
Yeah.
The hardy plank, not vinyl, these are the few conditions.
Well, can I make a motion that
Sure.
we approve it under these conditions? And then
Sure.
Okay.
Go ahead.
That we get specimen willow oaks out front, and you can put the service berries around the building.
Okay.
That, we get rid of the vinyl. That we are assured that there will be no visible HVAC systems on the roof or on the ground. If they're on the ground, they are screened.
Okay.
That's
Bricks.
a brick instead of stone.
Reddish color.
Yeah, I mean, if you look across the street and you got a proposal for a brick over there on the Barrett building and you want to try something, you know, we'll talk about it.
Okay.
But
Something that
we're trying
runs
to
with
bring
what's in
something
the
from
town.
downtown,
Yeah.
out of town.
Okay.
Were there any others?
Submit a subsequent application for all signage.
For the signage, right?
And the lighting straight down in the parking lot.
And the lighting,
Okay.
be assured that it's all downlighting, which you did.
Yes.
Okay.
Anything else? Anybody like to make a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you very much for your time, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You want these plans?
If you don't want them, I can have them, yeah.
We don't need it.
Yes.
We'll just try it from the next guy. And this will leave right here, okay?
Okay, sounds good.
All right, next item is John Salam,
Get a
concept
hold of
plan
me,
for
or
Victorian Oaks,
you
Maine.
want to get a hold of me in the next, whatever, after you talk to the owner. That's not my office.
Okay. How about that?
Yeah, I'll talk to them.
Really, up to another month, right?
You know, and there's something to send more
Mm-hmm, I agree.
after you talk to the client. The big circle is a letter. I'll give them a copy and you got the convention also.
I agree.
We'll make that part of the record.
We've been on the burn for so long.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
You too.
We'll lose that, though. We'll lose that.
Okay, give me a copy. The last applicant here. Not having anybody else here except for him. All right, so introduce yourself and hop off.
Good evening. Thank you, Chairman Denny. John Solomon, representing the property, Arden Center LLC. I didn't mention this last time for Commissioner Storr and Commissioner Lockwood. Nice to meet you. I'm actually also a licensed engineer also. I've been doing engineering in the area for about 30 years. I did mention that last time. I think everybody except you, Commissioner Storr, might not have known that I was also an engineer. It came out in the paper.
I drive by your building all the time.
Oh, okay, so good. When I presented last month, I was here for information only, and I was here basically to get your advice. And you've been so gracious to give me a second bite of the apple, because I'm back here for some more advice. Most of you know that we have the 19.3 acres, that's Arden Center, right as you're coming out on North Main Street on 818. After you get past Cheers, a couple houses, Farm Field, Denise's house, then you have our complex with Arden Center, you have John Altman's house, you have a little bit more of Arden Center, you have Park's house, then you have the power lines, and you have even more of Arden Center. Not to rehash everything we talked about last month, but to get Commissioner Cosby and Commissioner Lockwood up to speed, we're only talking about 7 acres that's north of the power lines. So we're not talking about where we have our office and everything, we're only talking about the heavily treed area that's north of the power lines. To touch on it, we went into it last month, and it did seem to be much of an issue. We're in growth area 3, which is mixed use. Over the years, the town has kind of slowly worked their annexations around, and with that being the case, and the extension of the water and sewer to the property, we thought we'd explore a concept a little bit different than what we've been doing on the south side of the property. We thought we'd perhaps try and conform a little bit more to what the town's master plan is, which is mixed-use residential development. Currently, we're C2 in the county, so we're actually not in the town of Berlin yet. So I'm here to talk to you about a project that if you all think that we have something that you want, I'll start the formal process of annexation. So we're going to have annexation, we're going to have site plan, we're going to be talking about materials and all that other stuff a little bit later. I'm just kind of broad brush concept with you guys. So I just wanted to get us all on the same page since some of us weren't here last month. I went ahead and I came last month. There was a couple things that were discussed, a couple takeaways that I had. And I went back to the drawing board after I listened to what discussions we had, and came up with a revised site plan, which I'm showing as Victoria Notes Option 1. It's the first page in your packet. The revised site plan honors both the town's height limit of 50 feet and then our project limit of 45 feet with 3-story structures. I come in originally talking about 4-story structures, which is option 2, and I won't talk about that just real briefly after we're done here. But I heard quite clearly that you all thought we might want to do a 3-story concept. So in order to do the 3-story layout, I went ahead and kept the same basic layout of the property, but I had to go to 3 buildings. Previously, we were going to have two buildings and 80 units, and now we have 3 buildings with 68 units.
I'm counting 72. 18, 12, and 42.
It's only going to be 68 units when it works out. It's only going to be 68 units.
But you have on each building numbers that don't
Right,
add
I see 30.
don't add up to 68.
Yeah, I see 72, but
Okay.
it's only going to be 68, Rob.
Okay,
All right. Good thing we're only at a little concept plan here.
right.
I think that fell over from when we had 72 with the third option that I played
Okay.
around with a little bit also. But no, we're only talking 68 units because that's all that's going to fit here. We're still going to have 1 larger building and 2 smaller buildings. I'd come in and I really had to get the architect working on how is this building going to look, because that was the other thing we talked about, is we wanted to make sure that it had the look and feel that we thought was going to be right for the site. So if I may approach, I actually had the architect do some renderings. Sure. And I'd like to just hand those out here. So these are the renderings for the 3 stories. If you don't want to go right here. Some cute new maps. And one for Ron. Okay.
Did you get one? No. You have one for the town also?
Yes, yeah, I'm going to bring them, give him the last one just in case.
Okay.
I want to make sure you all have them. Yeah, no problem whatsoever. So this particular building shows a 3-story with a pitched roof and going to be slab on grade, so the entry level will be platinum. So this is going to be flat style like I mentioned last month. So there's going to be a series of flats in these buildings. I listened when we talked last month about the potential for buildings like this to stand out. And what I actually did is I went down to the site And I sat there for a while, and the mosquitoes weren't too bad that night. And I went and I sat, and I thought about it, and I looked a little bit. I went back on another night, and I got my drone. And I went ahead and I took pictures that were put in your packet as what backdrops are. The town height limit's 50 feet, but we've set our height limit for our project at 45 feet. And I went and I actually flew my drone at 45 feet. So the buildings nestled in these trees are going to have full canopy wrapping around them at 45 feet. Then I went and I flew the drone higher, and I flew it right to the treetops. And when I flew to the treetops, the drone was registering 75 feet. So there's going to be a full 30 feet of trees over and above the 45-foot height limit of the building. And just because I was there and it's cool, I went up to 90 feet. And then I panned it around so you could see the pond in the back and everything. And you can see that we are above the trees at 90 feet. So the reason why I'm pointing that out right now is I want to show you the backdrop. We see a little stick picture here. It shows some detail of what the buildings are going to look like. But when we go to the second sheet, I actually asked the architect to actually put the actual photo in the tree line on the rendering. Because I heard real clearly that it was a concern about these buildings sticking out. Listen, I don't want these buildings to stick out either. We want this to blend in like we've done everything else on the site. So the second sheet, page 2 of 3 of the option 1 rendering, shows the buildings with the trees wrapped around, and that's the actual tree line on the site. And that's a perspective as if you were driving 818 into town heading towards Cheers. The site slopes off, actually, Main Street goes from 32 feet to 30 feet in front of the property. We're going to have a finished floor elevation around 26, so we're actually going to be down in a hole a little bit there. But we're going to have all these mature trees wrapping around the property around the building. So I wanted to, as accurately as I could here in this rendering, represent what these buildings are going to like with the trees there. So these aren't artificial trees, these aren't fabricated trees. I didn't put the little people and all that stuff in. What I did is I actually told them to use the actual photograph of what was there on the site. The original concept for the project was luxury apartments, and I still think that these are going to be luxury apartments. When I bring the unit count down to the 68 level, the budget requires some adjustment. So there's certain outside features that we have on the project and certain inside features. Two of the inside features that are going to feel some impact from having a little bit less density than I originally proposed on the project is some of the finishes aren't going to be quite as nice inside. I mean, I probably have to use some more like silestone instead of grain. I'm going to probably have to use maybe some corian instead of silestone in some places. The other interior features that are likely going to be impacted by going to 3 buildings is I'm probably going to only be able to put an elevator in one of the buildings. The elevators have a cost. It's a relatively fixed cost. If you have a third building, you basically have 50% more elevator cost. If you have a lower unit count, then the elevator proportionally per building is higher. So I'm probably looking into 3-story concept, probably only having elevator in the large building, not the smaller buildings. So they'd be more like walk-up flats, only 3 stories. So that's one difference. Couple things that I didn't want to price out of the project, and I hope I haven't priced out of the project, is I still would like to have a small swimming pool. And my best place for tucking is tucking it back in the back of the project, along with where the dog park is. The other thing is I intend to have a fully landscaped and connected front entranceway. I'm still hoping, like I discussed last time, that we can figure out connectivity, whether that's connectivity back towards the park through this property, because we go all the way back to the railroad tracks. We don't go back and touch the park, we just touch the railroad tracks. But we're pretty darn close, we're 66 feet from the park at that point. And connectivity down towards Main Street. I'd like to be part of making that happen in the area that he can control. So I don't think that I'm going to be doing anything with having any less landscaping on the project. But, you know, that discussion, the detailed discussion is for another day. But that's something that, for me, I'd rather not do the project rather than do something that isn't landscaped. And I welcome you to come out to my office area and see how I've landscaped that. And I think we've done a pretty nice job there. The exterior facades at the lower budget point, at the lower unit, is probably going to be a little bit simpler. Still, the material is, we're still going to have 1 and 2 story brick. And I'll pick a color like that because that's the color that I think belongs on this site. Talk about cream, but we're still in discussions of what the building is going to look like. But I am going to have slightly simpler facades. So I took to heart what you all told me last month, and I reworked this as best I think I could to present this to you. And I did want to, I hope I demonstrated that I made a good faith effort to do this. And if this is the project you'll want to try and work with this, it's just a lot tougher to work with this than the original design. I thought if I could indulge just a little bit, and especially since 2 of the commissioners weren't here last month, I did leave the option 2, which was my original plan, and I did leave the option 2 in the packet, and I actually had the architect use some renderings with it. And so if the chairman would allow, if I could talk a little bit about the option 2 plan.
Sure.
Okay, thank you very much, I really appreciate that.
There you go.
So the site plan for this project, option 2, is essentially the same as we had last month as far as the plan layout goes. I went ahead, and like I said, I sat on the site and I thought about it. I went ahead and I took the pictures, I took the drone, and I looked at the budget and said, it was quite clear that the massiveness of the building was something that was a concern that we really had to discuss. And I really appreciate that you guys are discussing that with us now, rather than me getting way down the road and having some issues with it. So we really took some thought in working with the architect and how to make the building was still the same 45-foot height limit. That's our hard height limit, even though the town's height limit is 50 feet. We were taking a 45-foot height limit. How would we make this look like a less massive building? And so my wife and I took a lot of time. We drove around Berlin. She took a lot of pictures. She texted me a lot of pictures. And we realized that how the Victorian-style homes made the houses look less massive was actually a really practical feature. They basically used the attic as living space. So our 3-story design had a big pitched roof that would be trusses and actually be a lot of wasted space, where the Victorian design actually used that space with dormers to bring light in and little cut-up areas. So that was the discussion I gave the architect in order to do the renderings that you see option 2, page 1, and option 2, page 2 of 3. Just out of dumb coincidence, I read the paper, all 4 of them every week, from back to front, so I know what's going on, because that's what I have to do with my business. And I came across Buck Mann's picture of the hotel in Ocean City. And I'd never showed this to the architect. This was only the description we gave him. But darn, I don't think we came pretty close to this. I didn't make copies for everybody. It was in the paper. but I think we came pretty close to that design, of that hotel that's been there for 100 years. It's important that if I'm able to get the density that I think the site needs, that I can have the building that is going to support this project and truly make it Victorian Oaks. So there's a lot more I can do at the higher density level, but without making the building look any bigger. There again, if you look, compare this to the other one, this is the same height building, all right? And it's the same exact tree line. So the building is not going to look any bigger, it's just going to have more density and have more of the internal space be used. I heard what you told me last month, and I'm going to hear what you tell me this month, because really, I'm here to listen. They're doing a lot of talk now, but I'm here to listen. And I want to know if you think we can do a project of this type, if we think we should do a project of this type. I heard no, I heard yes, I heard maybe, I heard a lot of different things. But before I put a lot of, frankly, I put a lot of my time into this. And I can do that because I know how to draw plans. But now I'm starting to get to the point where I'm getting architects and other people involved, and we'll go into annexation, and I'll get somebody like Mr. Moore involved, and it's just how it works. So I guess I'm back again, and I'll come back as many times as you want me to, but I'm back again to see, you know, are we on track with either the revised option 1 or what I really think the project should be is the option 2. And with that, I'll just shut up. I have an option 3, but I don't want to go into that because I don't really like it. Unless you want me to.
If you want to, go right ahead.
Yeah.
If you want-
Let me just get, let me just go real quick. The option 3 was trying to split the baby, and that sometimes doesn't work. So what I did is I went ahead and I did a garage. I did garage homes where the garages were underneath, but still only having 3 living stories above. And what ended up happening was a layout that I didn't like whatsoever. I just don't like that layout. It's extremely awkward. But I was trying to be able to have the density to keep the elevator. I could have 2 buildings that could keep the elevator. So I probably would work on that some more if we decided we wanted the garages underneath. Now, it'll look more like townhomes, but it's not going to look more Victorian, because Victorian didn't really have garages underneath their houses. So that was option number 3, but that would be one that I would really favor unless you guys really wanted to talk about it.
It looks like the parking suffers there, huh?
Well, you have parking underneath, but you can't get as much parking. It's
On the site.
It's awkward, Dave. It's awkward. I mean, I could rework it, and granted, I didn't spend all that much time on it because I didn't have any passion for that. So, I think you guys are understanding where I'm coming from. This is back second time, but I'm here to listen for you to tell me, do you guys want this type of project on this property in Berlin? I mean, that's the first thing I want to know before I spend a lot more time.
Okay, I'll go first. It's been a month since you were before us. I haven't had one person made a positive comment about doing what you want to do down there. Some people have mentioned that it probably should be a commercial project of some kind, possibly like the Main Street Medical Place, continuing on with medical, so on and so forth. You said 19.3 acres, is that everything you own there, or is that?
We have 19.3 acres, yes.
Is that with your mini storages and all that?
Correct. Yeah, this is a 7.1 acre site.
Okay, that's the whole thing. I mean, you kind of established what you're going to do there. I mean, the mini storage, I didn't know they were there myself until I brought some boxes down for the Coastal Trust or
Yep.
whoever's renting from you, or.
Yeah, ACT's out front.
Yes, yeah, I brought them back there. I was like, where, I was wondering, I know.
We hit them well then.
Well, that was a county property, I understood that, but I had no clue they were back there. Just, not that, I mean, they're well screened from everything. I think you've established what you want to do with your 19 acres by starting with the mini storages. I know you can't make as much, renting out commercial property per se, I guess, I don't know. That's not my business, so I don't know.
Mini storage is a good business.
What's that?
Mini storage is a good business.
Yes,
Yeah.
I get that, and I know it doesn't require water and sewer, or possibly just for an office, I guess, but something along those lines. And I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure that if he wanted to bring the property in as commercial, either way, he has to hook up to our sewer. Because it's right there.
Well,
I mean,
unless he
I
did
think
it
that's
on-
how it works.
It would depend on his requirements for whatever that commercial development was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we have 600 gallons on that part of the site. We
Okay.
have another 1,500 or so gallons elsewhere on the site. So we actually have in-ground septic systems that we can continue to use if we want to.
Okay.
Now, we can't do a multifamily development on that, and we wouldn't do a multifamily development. The main thing is your comprehensive plan says we're supposed to be mixed-use residential. So I thought this is.
Essentially. I mean, it came from, that was M1 in the county. You know, the last time that was changed to C2.
Yeah,
And one was-
actually, we had, in fact, I have the property owner here whose family owned it for 100 years. And I know
Okay,
John
yeah,
wanted
I've
to
seen
say-
that, you know, the Rains house up here, I know
Yeah.
they used to dump the gravel in the backyard and all that.
Yeah.
That's what it was, you know, that's
Yeah,
100 years ago.
they had B2 and M1, and then in 2009, it got changed all to C2.
Yes, it was, it was a downsize, it was a, or downgrade or downsize.
Well, the front was upzoned from B1 neighborhood business to general commercial. And the rear was potentially, if you could call it a downzoning, from M1. But I don't think the property is real suitable for an industrial use, in my opinion. So I'm glad that they.
No, I
changed
thought
it.
because it backed up to the railroad track
Yeah.
or front
Yeah,
of the
exactly,
railroad tracks
exactly.
anyway. That's the way it was. I don't know, that's just my opinion right now, that you establish yourself as, you want to be commercial there. It's kind of like a, I don't want to say mishmash, but it seems to be what you're trying to do down there as far as a residential thing. That's just, I'm using my Mr. Cosby's words here. It's a humble opinion, I believe.
Always humble.
Yes, always humble, but anyway.
Well, I gotta say that I was really sorry I missed the last meeting, and my reaction to your initial plan, I was totally negative. I was like, you can't build this here. I mean, and I was happy to see somebody who said, you gotta have sidewalks to get to town. But I gotta tell you, you made me think tonight. But the question I have on the, and I don't understand this picture here where it says this is a northeast corner perspective, this Victorian picture. I don't see how that's northeast. I'm not, is that right?
It's the northeast corner of the building. Your view is south. Your view is southeast. So I think the architect just has it wrong.
I'm totally twisted on this.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
quite get it.
If you're on Main Street coming in, Pete, towards Cheers, and if you just get over the hump of the hill, that's what you'll see. So that's the view as you look in with power lines. and-
This is the big, long building.
Correct. We only did one building.
Okay. So, building B, on the north side of the property, 24 units.
Yes.
There are not going to be trees there. You're going to see that building from the road.
Actually, Spiro Buis's property only goes back to where you see the non-tidal wetlands, and that's all treed. That's on Ashton's property, and that's all treed right now.
Well, I'm looking at the dark line on the plan. That's your property.
Correct.
right?
Yes.
So, and there's no trees there.
There are trees, but they're on somebody else's property.
Right.
Yeah, they're existing trees.
But they may disappear.
I can't control it.
I know that. I just,
Correct.
See, the thing I don't want to look at coming in, and you are off the road, you got a lot of landscaping out front, which will be very important to this project,
Yeah,
to screen it, but you can't control what's going on in the neighboring property.
exactly.
I gotta tell you, you got me thinking on this Victorian building here. I'm not up for Berlin becoming an apartment house community. My feeling was, we made a great big contribution with Oceans East to the residential needs of Berlin. And we went, you know, that's a huge project, but it's far enough from town not to impact the town's architecture and, I don't know, what it is. So I thought, and then on the Purnell project, Purnell Crossing, again, we're facing 3-story apartment buildings there now. So, and then I looked at this and I thought, well, here we are. Every approach to Berlin is going to be a wall of apartments. So the first impression anybody's going to get of Berlin is apartment buildings. And a lot of people in this town don't want it. Neither do I. But I have an open mind, I always do. And what else are we going to see on this property? A bunch of storage buildings at one of the prime entrances to Berlin? Is that what we want? A bunch of commercial, more doctor's offices lining the whole street? And storage buildings, is that what we want to look at there? I'll tell you, with proper landscaping and sidewalks getting into town, this Victorian building is a very creative effort by you to make this economically work with 4 stories. The architecture can sell me, maybe. I think it's very creative and very inventive, and I appreciate your effort in trying to make a beautiful building.
And I cannot take credit because this is all my wife.
Well, I got the feeling, but in any event, you're heading.
She was here last month directing the show.
I personally would rather look at attractive living units that contribute to the town, even though it's huge, to meet your economic needs, properly screened with as much acreage as you have. Maybe it'll work if we open our minds and think about it. And you can give us the perspectives and the drawings to, and the commitment to build a first-class Victorian building. A monumental building can be an attractive thing. I know, like, I come from Oakland, Maryland, Western Maryland through part of my life, and it used to be a hotel town. You know, everybody got on the B&O Railroad from Washington and Baltimore and went up to Oakland to get out of the heat in the summer, and the hotels were huge hotels that dominated the mountainsides overlooking the town. But they were attractive. They were monumental buildings of a Victorian character that contributed to the town, not only the economic base, but the appearance. So trying to have an open mind to you and get over my being anti-apartments all over Berlin, maybe you can pull this off, in my mind, with a great building. I'm open to the thought. Because I don't want to look at a bunch of commercial stuff up and down this road. I don't want more doctor offices and, you know, 1-story, single-level buildings with parking lots and, you know, this is a mixed use that can soften the commercial aspects of your development on the property and the other parts. I'm open to that thought.
Because of the power lines, this is so separated, I really don't have connectivity unless we make connectivity.
Right.
I really don't have connectivity to the other part of the property. That's the only reason why we did it on this side.
But you are going to be looking to connectivity, and so will we.
I'd love to work on connectivity to the park.
Yes, and the railroad, of course, will never give you a right-of-way to get across, but you just
They might give the
trespass.
town a right of way.
Huh?
They might give the town a right of way.
Maybe, but even if they don't,
It's never, railroads are never gonna give up their.
no, they're not
No,
going to.
no, we might not need a right of way, just a crossing.
I don't think they'll give you anything.
Not gonna do
We'll
that.
see.
But the bottom line
I won't
is,
say no to
it's
that.
easy to trespass across a road. So all I'm saying is, I would say, yeah, get the bike path up to the railroad right-of-way, because I'm always back there playing around on my bike, riding around through that railroad right-of-way in the woods there, and it's a great area to hang out. You can only wonder why. But, yeah, I would want you to think of a bike path, walking path, even public access for the public to get around back there to and from the park. I think you gotta really plan on the sidewalk all the way into town.
But Pete, I don't control all the way.
I know you don't.
That's the thing.
But
I
that's-
can only do it on my property and it's cut up.
I hear you. I think it's time for the state to get on the stick, and somebody needs to lash the whip.
That was actually my discussion last month.
I'm sorry I missed it.
Yeah, well, I really wish that we could do that. I know I've been approached by a couple of other people further down, and I told them I'm 100% on board, is, you know, I'd go out on my property right now and construct a sidewalk, because we really need it, especially with everything that's planned on going on that corner. It's not gonna get any better.
That is one of my primary concerns. But I came here tonight with a fairly negative attitude, but your Victorian idea shows a lot of thought. And maybe we can find a happy place, because I really don't want to see this entrance to Berlin have a hard commercial look. And if it is a mixed-use property, well, this is a mixed use that's economically feasible. But you can't lower the number of units and make it work, lower the intensity a little bit, get rid of a building.
Well, that's exactly what I did, and when I did that, I have to get rid of elevators, I gotta get rid of amenities, I gotta get rid of finishes because
You
the
couldn't-
numbers just don't work for the type of facade that I want to put on the
You couldn't
building.
eliminate building B and turn that into.
No way. No way.
Well, those are my thoughts right now. My mind is softened, I'll put it that way.
Just for Pete's sake, you can't, Pete's sake.
You've been waiting to do that, haven't you?
Now, it's unfortunately just popped out. You can go across Kitts Branch back to that, the uplands area of that property.
That's forest conservation.
So you can't do anything
It's
there
platted.
now or
It's
ever,
platted.
or?
It's platted as forest conservation. I wouldn't say never, 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 but it's got
It's
a
never.
perpetual easement
It's never.
of forest conservation.
But you can cross over there for,
You can walk through the woods.
that's what I mean, you
Yeah.
can make a bridge or whatever, I'm not sure what the waterway.
We actually already have a crossing there. We have a crossing there. And so people can go back there. It's part of this property. It'll be
Okay.
part of this lot. But you're severely limited in what you can do in forest conservation.
Okay.
Like nothing.
Well, you can walk in it.
Well,
You can bird.
right, right.
You can do a passive pass, right? A wood chip pass or something?
Usually I think it's
You can't-
3 to 6
can't
feet.
do
something.
anything.
So after last week's beatdown, after I kind of said I like this project, it's nice to have Pete kind of chip in. That was unsuspected. You know, I'm still going to voice the same opinion when I know probably a lot of the property owners maybe in town are afraid of having apartments come in. But a lot of the people my age are living downtown, or maybe a couple years younger than me, and they're paying $1,000 a month or $950 or $1,100 to live above the buildings downtown. And the buildings aren't nice. I mean, they're mildly renovated, if you want to call that, but they're not. And, you know, I discussed it with a couple people at the bar just about this being a potential. And I understand, you know, years down the line or whatever, and they were very interested in it. Once again, there's a need for more apartments, I think, or more places for people to live in Berlin. And there's just not that option right now. And a lot of the places that people are renting are just old rundown houses that have been paid off for 30 years and people are making good money on it, and good for them. You know, I understand that they own the business, they own the buildings, but these would be new, they would be nice, and it gives more people access to the downtown area, where Oceans East, it's more of a trip to come downtown. And I know we're always worried about parking here, and we have limited parking, and it is a mile, you know, probably a half-mile walk to downtown, but it's not that bad. And I mean, that's why, once again, I still have a lot of hopes for something like this. And I really like that connection to the park. Because once I realized when I saw these pictures where it was exactly, I walk my dog back there all the time, and I always, you know, my dog goes pees down there all the time.
Well, now I can't do what I want to do back there. Get our dog back.
So when you were looking at the 3 floors versus the 4 floors, what were the finishes that would be different? I understand you have the elevators. I know you're talking about you wouldn't be able to do the marble.
Yeah, the interior finishes are going to have to go down a notch, just because the project, the pro forma, won't afford the higher end finishes. I don't want to say highest end finishes, because we all know how high end finishes can go. But we have to knock it down. And that means they're still going to be brand new. They're still going to be nice. I'm not going to say that they're not, but it's not going to have all that pizzazz. You know, are we going to have, you know, the better appliance packages? Are we going to have the larger full-size washer and dryer, or just the stack washer and dryer? I mean, those type of things. All those, when you work that through the pro forma, all those things have to go into. Are we going to have the siding that I will not mention here tonight? Is that something that you just have to have economically to make it work? Well, that's what your other apartments have. Because economically, when you're at a certain density, that's economically what it works. We didn't design this that way. We designed this with slat type finishes. We designed this to be, you know, the board on board look with the hardy plank style above brick. At 80 units, I can afford to do that.
Do the rental prices change for a 1, 2, or 3 bedroom when you change from the 68 to the 80? Because you just have physically less units?
We've always, rental prices aren't what some landlord wants. We've owned many multifamilies in the past. Aren't just what some landlord wants to charge. That isn't how it works. It's the market that determines it. And we've mentioned where our market is. We know where the market is. And I'd have to say that your market on the edge of town has actually lifted your prices. I've seen it lift your prices in town for what George says. The market rent's what the market rent is. You have to build to that market rent. I mean, yes, it appreciates over time, but even having a slightly nicer building, maybe some people would pay $50 extra a month to live in this building, but most people wouldn't.
Okay.
You gotta go with the market rents, unfortunately.
You could make those attic units though awful interesting with the contours.
Yeah, they'd be more the one bedrooms, probably the 3 and 1 bedrooms we put up there is what we probably do.
Even do some studio rooms, attract a couple artists.
I didn't even think about
Some
that.
lights up there that say artist studio room, with the right kind of light from the north in some of those dormers. I mean, I'm trying to open my mind. What I fear on that road is we're gonna see a continuing commercial development. And we don't have enough power here to stop that.
We don't.
We can't just say no to somebody who
We
wants to
have,
build.
we have what they need, the pipe,
A what?
the pipe,
Yeah.
water and sewer.
The next guy who comes, next Palmer Gillis who comes in, the next one who comes in for an office building, he's entitled to, it's commercial land. So you're gonna see another office building, or you're gonna see storage warehouses on the main entrance to Berlin, instead of a monumental building. And I don't want monumental apartment buildings, but this is so interesting, it's compelling. It would be all about the design of this building,
Mhm.
To you.
to me.
Okay.
I'm just expressing.
Okay.
Well,
I'm just
well, to
expressing
me
my-
too.
I get it, I get it.
I know that Reverend Altman came, he actually reached out when he saw some of those negative comments, and I know he's probably chomping a bit to say a few, did you want to say a few things? John, would you allow
Just a
that?
minute,
Okay.
just another, anybody else? Any comments or before we?
I think that the discussion is getting way ahead of itself here. Talking about way a building looks and stuff, we need to talk about land use. Talk about annexing another piece of property into the town of Berlin for residential use. That's really what we need to be talking about right now, besides tricks with siding and design.
Well, let's talk about it.
That's, to me, that's what we should be talking about. And all I hear from people in town who I'm here to represent is they've had enough of it.
I agree. The majority, I think you need to sell this project publicly. I think you need to take a unique approach.
And I won't be voting for any annexations for residential properties into this town until we have a proper discussion and a plan that the people will support. That's all I need to say.
And I was gonna kind of say that too. I think this project needs to be sold. The people of this town they want this town to stay as it is. Because it's a jewel.
Yep.
And we can wreck this thing.
Easily. It's being wrecked.
But the only way we can stop it would be to rezone the land and say it's agricultural. Otherwise, you're gonna see buildings.
We have water and sewer, which is what everybody needs. We have the ticket, and we can work with people on what we all get together. You know, even if we don't annex it, we still have water and sewer that we can get to folks who are out of town. It's the policy not to, but it's not the law.
If we don't annex it, I hear what you're saying, that's the ticket. If we don't annex it, and Mr. Slom should find a way to handle water and sewer, it's in the county, and the county decides what's gonna be built there.
He won't be able to make the money he's trying to make without water and sewer.
So
Well,
that's just not gonna
first of all,
happen.
you're assuming I'm in it for the money.
Well, I mean, if you're going to invest in it, then you got to make money.
I got you.
Yeah.
We're not going to do it unless we can make a good
Right,
return on
right.
it. But I'm not in it for the money because I have water and sewer. I have 2,500 gallons of water and sewer on the property. And I can easily do a contractor shop layout right there, sell them as condos, rent them. People do real well with that. I mean, there are things I can do with the property. I wanted to do this type of project. My wife wanted to do it. We've been on the property for 13 years. If the powers to be don't want it, I get it. It's not a real big deal. But not everybody is beholden to water and sewer. I'm just saying,
Right,
if you think,
but
if you
that's
think
what
everybody's
most-
beholden, not everybody is,
Right.
because every one of those properties on both sides of the road will get some type of perk.
Yeah.
I mean, I've tested the properties myself, I just tested Mr. Girardi's property, it will get perk.
So your alternative thoughts for development of this property are what, if you can't get?
Yeah, I already had an office building approved there, Arden Center there. The market timing wasn't good with that, Pete. I'm real glad I didn't build it then. The market timing wasn't good. But contractor shops, more storage, though I've been tending to tuck the storage in the back so nobody sees
And
it.
you've done a good job.
Yeah, well, that's just
And
how
I
I
think
want
you've
to
done a
do
good
it.
job with the four-story thing architecturally, I'm impressed. But
But we're talking contractor shops, storage, or small retail, no restaurants or anything like that. But I'm not sure this is the ideal place for a restaurant location. I don't think so.
The 2,500 gallons, what does that mean?
Well, 2,500
Yeah.
gallons means I can do contractor shops, I can do storage, I can do small retail
I
developments.
mean, it exists, or you're
The,
permitted
the,
for
the
it?
systems are in the ground.
They're in the ground, okay.
Yeah, I put them in the ground as soon as I bought the property.
Okay, that's what I was,
they've not been used?
They have been used.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, they're in the ground.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
I mean, is your intention to keep this property or to sell it, or is it a marketplace thing?
If
or-
we were to go ahead with this concept for the 4-story apartment buildings, my wife and I would see it through development and stabilization.
And then sell it? Or-
I didn't say that. I know I would see it through development, but I am 55
I
years
know
old.
last time you were here, you said you had owned other properties similar to what
We
you're
have.
proposing. Did you build those, or did you
No.
buy them?
No, we always bought them.
You bought them and
Yeah,
sold them?
we've never developed this, but I've done a lot more developing since we've owned those properties.
Were they in Worcester County, or were they?
No, all up and down the East Coast, we've owned
Okay,
properties.
just-
Yeah.
So trick question,
Yeah.
I'm just curious. Okay.
Ron, how can we stop it?
I'm not trying to stop
I'm not
anything.
trying to stop anything.
I'm not trying to stop anything.
I mean, what do we want to see happening on this road? Besides keeping it exactly as it is, which can happen,
Which can or can't, what'd you say?
which can happen.
Can happen. No, eventually things are gonna happen. I don't know, but this is what my mind says, 10 pounds in a 5-pound bag. And what people are telling me, unsolicited, is we've got enough. And we need to consider these annexations. It's really something that people are talking about, you know, increasing the volume, the size of town. And you know what happens after that. And you just said what people want. Now, we can't stay static, obviously. But we need to do things as far as I'm concerned, in a different way than we have been doing them, from without rather than from within. I understand why John wants to do this. I appreciate what you've done. But I have to, as you're looking out for your interest and your wife's, I have to look out for what people are telling me. And it's pretty vocal. I shared that with you when I called
Oh,
you
yeah.
after the
Yeah.
last, you know,
Yeah,
John
no,
stopped you
this
from
is
spending
not a
money.
surprise. That's why I thought I'd come back one more time. I tried to make some modifications. The modifications give it a different product. It gives it a different character. I don't know if you like that character any better. I think I've told you what I like.
Here's, I mean, okay, look at, do we want to just do what we have to do to rezone these properties? We change our growth areas and say, this is it. This is all going to stay farmland as far as we're
I
concerned.
think we have to have discussion with townspeople. That's what we do. Yeah, I think, you know, we need to upzone some stuff in town.
I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing that happen. I wouldn't mind seeing a green circle drawn, and this is where.
The way the plan reads, the comprehensive plan, okay, we are going to grow and grow and grow and grow. There's nothing that says we stop. Is that what we want to do? Is that what the people in town want to do, is
No.
continue to physically expand? That's what the plan says. The county has set these growth areas up outside of us. We didn't ask for them.
But that's
And all of a
every-
sudden
that's
it comes
every
down on us.
municipality in the state does the same thing. It's the state
Exactly.
to the county.
You know,
to us.
basically, it's like, the whole,
This is
you
the way it
know,
works.
the simple way is that the human population is going to continue to expand, therefore we have to accommodate that. We're going to make this town accommodate that many people?
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
not feeling too good about that.
I think you have to
I'm
look
with
at
you, Ron.
the growth areas you have are delineated. Now, to do any kind of annexation,
that's outside a growth area, which this is not.
I get it, I think we have
You
more
can't-
growth areas than we need already.
Just saying,
For-
you need
for
to-
what the people were
you need
telling
to
us.
add- We've had to do it in the past. Your commission had to do it in the past.
We had to do it.
That's the way it has to be done
It-
legally.
I
No, I know.
didn't say you had to do it.
Okay.
I don't mean it that way.
Right, right.
You're not compelled to do it.
I'm afraid that's what some people think.
No. But like, for example, the Arby's and the Royal Farms up on Route 50, okay?
All the sense of the word.
That had to be added to a growth area before it could be annexed. There's a reason for that process. So you have several public hearings. And in that case, if you remember, we had one for the adding it to the growth area and a long period for comment with Maryland Department of Planning to amend our comp plan to add it to the growth area. Then it could move on to public hearing of annexation, one of your panel and one of the mayor and council to accept that annexation. So it took, 8 months before, and it was plenty of time for that comment that you're looking for. So, and we've had this.
I'm hearing it without a hearing.
We've had this argument. You're hearing what without a hearing?
Well, I read the Facebook comments.
Yeah,
too.
that we had.
I get them too. I get them too.
You know, I'm one who thinks we have too much growth area.
But Ron, this growth area is growth area 3. The roadbed was annexed after we bought the property, okay? The water and sewer was run down. Thank you. Thank you, whoever was involved in that decision. Then the park was annexed behind us. We're pretty much surrounded. I mean, we're not some far flung park. We're right.
When did you buy the
basically-
property?
2007. When was it, John?
The road was
2007.
annexed in 2000, I believe, or 2001, somewhere around here.
No, it was Muriel Select, because I was
To
the
go out there
consultant.
and pick up the popsicle, what do they call it, a lollipop, or
No, that was the one out to Barrett. It was Muriel Select.
to go out to across the highway,
Yeah.
to the
Yeah,
Taylor
to the
Farm and all
chicken,
that.
chicken.
I think that was annexed in 2001 or 2, or,
But the point is this particular growth area, and then all of the park has been annexed in the back, this particular growth area.
I get it.
So I think it's a little different than some of the far-flung ones.
I get you,
But
it's just more
It's-
annexation for
Ron,
residential use.
it's cool either way, I just really need to know where you guys are coming
I
from.
just think that thing was annexed in 2000, or whenever they did the farm, when they knew the tech park, remember the
Yeah.
tech park?
Yeah, the M1A.
And all that, and every property along that,
And that was,
you know,
yeah.
from me on down, all the way to the highway,
Yeah.
anytime their septic system was failing, they had to, you know, get into the pipe. Well, the pipe never got there when it was supposed to be there.
Correct.
The pipe got there, 10 years ago? So I don't, I'm sure all that was thrown out the window, or some legalese will get rid of it anyway. Right, Steve?
Is all the land behind this building toward the railroad tracks wetlands?
No. Very little is wetlands.
Oh, it's good land.
Correct, I have a JD and a delineation, very little is wetlands.
So between what you want to do here and the railroad tracks is all good land for future apartments or whatever?
Not on this lot because it's forest
Forestry.
conservation. I put it in conservation easement.
Oh,
It's got restrictions beyond.
That's across your,
so what does that land mean to you?
Behind,
Mhm.
it's forest conservation, I had to do it in order to do development on the property, it's a
Okay.
state law.
And as part of his deed, has to continue to be a part of his deed.
Oh, you
Oh, yeah.
couldn't transfer that land? Could you?
I don't know. It can't be used for
He
anything.
I
needs,
understand.
Yeah,
Not for development.
yeah.
No, I'm saying, I'm just thinking of ways to sell this. Would you be willing to donate it to the town for additional
then he
parking?
won't have forestry.
Huh?
Then he won't
No,
comply with forestry.
well, Pete, the easement's perpetual, and the easement's to the Worcester County Commissioners.
Right.
So even if the land was donated, it would still have that easement over it. as you
Couldn't
well
be
know.
used for passive parkland for the town?
I don't believe so. There's
No.
restrictions.
No.
There's restrictions. There's
No.
some things you're allowed to do in it, but not a lot.
You're allowed to prune some,
Yeah.
but you can't put a trail through
You couldn't put a trail through there?
there. Not in forestry conservation area.
Yeah, it's just.
Period.
I'd have to check
It's
with Dave.
disturbance.
Yeah, I'd have to check
Period.
with Dave Bradford
No.
to see what the restrictions would
Would you be inclined to donate that land if you could?
I mean, I wouldn't say no. I think that's part of the negotiation.
I'm just saying, I mean,
I want to figure out what connectivity, and, we've got a lot of land that can't be used anyway for connectivity. I've talked to
if
some.
it can be used for recreational, passive recreational use
Yeah.
by the town as a part of its existing park.
It can't be.
I know you say that. I'm just throwing out
I know, I'm
thoughts.
just telling you that you're going down the road, you can't go down.
Well, that's not 100% true, because forest conservation land can be swapped. So there might be land that the
Oh, you can
town
go
would
out,
never
and
use.
go back somewhere else, and go to a bank.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So
But then you have
there's
to,
possibilities.
you still gotta go buy it then.
Well, something's, maybe it's land that the town owns already. You own a lot of forest in a lot of places, like at Liberty Town and other places.
I'm just throwing out
Yeah.
thoughts.
Yeah, it's always possible, but I can't even get to that point yet, because we have to go through an annexation, Pete. And if we're gonna do that, I do wanna have these type of discussions. But I gotta know that, you know, there's a chance that you guys are gonna support this. And I hear the neighbor comments, like I said, I read them, my wife read them. I'm still willing to come here, I'm still willing to have the architect do what he had to do, but if I'm getting heck no, heck no, heck no, you're kind of telling me what I need to
I'm
do.
not telling you heck no.
No.
Because I have a feeling if we don't annex, the county's gonna control development on that road. And it's gonna be little commercial things here and there, all the way into town. And if we do take control of it and annex it, then we do have some control over what happens there. That's what I'm concerned about. And I understand, I'm all with you, Ron, it's just, it grows on itself. Okay, then we have another boundary of the town, and then they're gonna want another growth area, and.
And when do we stop?
I hear
We
you.
hit the Pocomo, I guess that's what stops us.
Or Salisbury.
We hit physical boundaries we can't get over.
Or Salisbury.
It's just like cancer, it just
I
continues to
I
grow.
understand,
So it
but
needs to host.
this piece of land
That's
is
what we're
pretty
doing here
very
in town.
close to town. It's in a natural growth area for the town. It's a fact we can't deny. And I think the way to approach this project is as an educational project and do some serious advertising to get people to come to to whatever meetings we have on this. Educate the public, get them involved, hear their comments, and hear what we're saying.
Sounds good to me.
People need to talk this out.
Exactly.
They need to understand that if we don't control it, the county controls it. You know, and we're in this catch-22. But I don't want to see a bunch of more commercial development up and down this road. I don't. And if we get a great monumental Victorian building that has a beautiful facade, and that's, to me, a damn sight better than a bunch of little square commercial buildings lining the road.
I like my head on my shoulders.
Look, but the people need to hear this.
Exactly,
And they need
exactly,
to
that's
tell
what
us.
I'm hearing.
Now, I know, I'm hearing the same thing. People don't want this. I don't want this, but I don't have a choice, is how I'm looking at it.
And let me just ask, because I have not had so much negative feedback into my office, but everybody's saying there's a lot of people. What are they opposed to here?
Right.
Anything there
Right.
or apartments? No, can you tell me?
No.
No, when they see this and they hear annexation, they get upset.
Bingo.
But nobody's here
Well,
tonight
why?
except John Altman.
Because they don't
Okay,
understand.
can't be.
All right,
We haven't
Dave, I
opened
have
the
a-
meetings yet.
I have
We
two
don't have open meetings right
I have
now.
two questions real quick. Was tonight an open meeting? We had a staggered seating for the
No.
public? Is that
No.
correct, or
It could have been, yes.
could have been? It was advertised, or what, I read it somewhere, or
Yeah.
I saw it
Yeah.
somewhere.
If you want people in a room and you can make it safe, watch what happens.
Okay, I know, I'm just saying,
And it's
that's what we
being-
had tonight, I
And it's
get
being
that.
broadcast live.
Well, I'm surprised nobody's here tonight.
They can watch it on
I'm just saying,
TV.
it wasn't an open
But-
meeting,
but-
modified.
Right.
I get that. Okay.
But Mr. Cosby, it's just this week that the guidance from the governor
Phase 3.
let us come back to open meetings. So I think, and we've been doing this, recording them Facebook Live since, what, April?
So this is the first meeting that the town's had open, where we just happened to be the one that fell into it, right? There's been no council meetings or anything like this. Is that correct?
Oh, and Carolyn's telling me it doesn't actually start till Monday with the mayor and council.
Okay, so we're the first meeting that's had access for the public, so this is something new to everybody.
You mean
Right.
physical access?
Yeah, right out here. I mean, the mandate went down last Friday, I believe, or,
Yeah,
Phase 3?
but I think the town decided, the
okay,
press release went out today.
Okay.
The first.
Yeah, I remember I read it somewhere.
The
or I
first
got an email.
open meeting is to be Monday night coming up.
Okay, well, that's for the
14th.
council, but I'm talking about us. So ours is.
Of any kind.
Yeah, ours is set up for whatever, so.
No, open meeting of any kind. It
Okay.
doesn't matter what commission, what.
I thought Mr. Fleetwood said that we were set up for.
They've
tonight.
set it up this way, and that's what he was saying. From now on, we're gonna do it like
Okay.
this, until we get further guidance.
Okay, just curious. If nobody minds, I'd like to hear from the public.
That's you, John.
Are you still awake back there?
Can I lower this back?
Yes, sir. You'd like to come up front or speak into
All
the?
right, if you can hear me.
We can
that's
hear you.
all right. It's good to see you all to begin with. I'm administering in a town near Delmar more now than here, but we still have the property. And of course, in looking at all that John has done, I will share with you that I was 5 and 6 years old wandering in those same woods 65 years ago. So my heart and soul, regardless of ownership, is on the property. And Pete, reflecting simply on what you have said, appreciating Ron, what you're hearing, I do look at it as an entrance view of Berlin more than any other street coming into this town. So what do you want to see? If you look on the left where this is going to go, what do you have across the street? 2 beautiful older homes, and that's what people are going to see. That's the entrance view of Berlin, Maryland, not the other entrances. But if you set this precedent of homes like that rather than storage, and then what are you going to have across the highway from where I live that I know is going to come to maybe housing of 400 or 500 units? What are you going to have there? The precedent you said is a good value entrance point. This is going to be Berlin Main Street being seen. So what do you want to see? This is good housing. There is not good quality, well-kept housing within Berlin. I appreciate the closeness of Berlin. I live here. I know that feeling. I got 70 years here. But people want a little bit of expansion. Maybe some don't, Ron. But that's not the wholesome of the community. Look at the entrance into Berlin. What's the best entrance into Berlin right now? Can anybody tell me?
Broad Street.
Right at Cheers.
Where are people coming? I live on Main Street. I see the income of people coming, quote, in Main Street, because of Main Street, Berlin. What do you want them to see? I think Pete hit that on the head. There's nothing there, but again, as you come down that street on the right, there's the old Townsend house and Mr. Holland's house. Sit up on that hill right across from this, that's the first things they're going to see. That's a beautiful setup for people seeing what Berlin is really going to be or what it is. There's no other entrance like that into Berlin. And that's, you know, my heart's in it. So I appreciate what's being done. Great-grandpa bought this out of Pittsburgh in 1909 from the Godfrey side unseen, and that's how we ended up here. Personally, I'd love to see something better done with it than has been done in the past. That's where my heart is.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Would also know that on the west side of the street, it's someday going to be a great big housing development on the Abbott Farm.
That's what I'm
And
talking
they
about.
won't be Victorian.
Well, how is that going to happen?
It's going to happen.
We-
That's your next fight.
Well, all of this, it's like, all this is so, like, you know, gotta happen. What makes it have to happen?
How is the Abbott Farm zoned right now? It's a growth area.
R2 in the county.
It's R2.
And it's in your growth
County
area.
controls it. In our growth area.
Yeah, it's in.
It's only a matter of time.
If that's what you want.
It's not what I
People in
want.
town want.
Okay,
Okay, well then,
okay,
why don't you go for what you want?
How can we stop it?
Well, one of the things that, this is called agricultural preservation programs. That's one way to get the Abbott some money and us a great entrance to town. There's all kinds of ways to do it. The way not to do it is just to lay down and let it happen.
Okay, that's a good idea. So should we start an initiative to start a fund in the town through taxation and otherwise to get the money to buy agricultural rights?
Well, there are state and federal programs already. There's discussion in our comp plan about doing just what you talked about how to do that. And I think that's the kind of discussions we need to have rather than lay down and let everything happen because it's just inevitable always.
I'm with you 100%. I
don't want to have to tell my kid that it was inevitable and I didn't do anything about
I
it.
would totally support funding buying the agricultural rights and preserving that entrance.
It happens all the time in Worcester County.
And we should do it.
That's how we will maintain the integrity and the culture of this town
Yeah.
instead of growing to the Pocomoke and growing to Newark and growing to Delaware, which that's what it says in the comp plan. Keep on going, we have to accommodate all these growth projections. When you have a party at your house, you're the one that makes the rules. People just don't show up and you have to let them in all the time. Who's in control here?
I'm with you. I'm with you 100%. If we could preserve that field and that agricultural land there.
That would make the value of all of our houses more.
Keep the town what it is.
And that's how you improve the tax base.
Agreed.
Sadly, is to make my taxes a little more. I hate to say that, but it's either that or trash the town, and then we got nothing.
The town should initiate that.
That's why we're on the planning commission.
Well, the only comprehensive plan in the state of Maryland is Greenbelt, right? Hence
I'm sorry?
the comprehensive plan is every municipality has the exact same thing. And isn't it, or not, am I wrong?
I don't know what you mean by the
Like once
exact same
they're
thing.
incorporated part of town, then the next property out is in the 5-year plan, the 10-year plan, et cetera, et cetera. Isn't that the way the comprehensive plan is set up for?
Supposed to take that into
That's a
account, yes.
state law, or
That is state land use
the
article.
only municipality that doesn't have that is Greenbelt, I believe, is Pete's Fallback or whatever they have. The town was built with the Greenbelt in mind.
We have a
It was put in,
natural.
it was put in there, and there's a circle around the place.
Anybody can do it.
I mean, the town didn't exist before they did it, or.
The west side of the town is pretty protected except for Rabbit Farm.
See,
Perfect place to
the-
stop.
I'm just saying, that's the way, it's the state law. I'm not saying that's the way we always done it around here, or
No,
something like
and,
that, but
and the,
that's just the way, that's the
That's the
law.
way it's been done, but
the high hurdle with that has always been that to designate those parcels that, let's say, ring to all of Berlin, you have to have the property owner's
Yeah, every
permission,
individual property. owner should have
permission to not let them have any development rights. And that doesn't usually come easily from property owners.
well, you have them where you don't today. Everybody today has a certain amount, every property has a certain amount of rights to it. I'm
Development
not saying to
rights.
take anybody's away
We buy it.
right now.
If
You find ways to buy it. You find ways to buy their development rights,
Sure.
you know?
Find ways to buy
TDRs,
it.
ag preservation, there's all kinds of vehicles out there to do that. And to me, this town is prime for that. Because we can show how we can keep our character, keep our values.
I agree. 100%.
And these are all things like, just recently I gave you a copy of the comp plan.
Yeah, it's in there.
We're supposed to be reviewing it this year, so I want you to take a look at all that. These are exactly the topics
Yeah.
that we're supposed to review.
Before we start talking about bricks.
Well, in Mr. Solom's case, yes, but the other one was a site plan.
Well, yeah, but that's why we're here, talking.
So
For tonight's hearing.
he's gotten tangled up in a lot of our other conversation here.
It's been the last 30 years I've been tangled up in this kind of stuff, Dave, so it's cool, it's fine.
So,
Oh, it's the issue, to me, it's the issue tonight. And I want to provide to you as much information as I can, so you can make reasonable decisions, as you expect and as you ask me to.
Yeah.
Well, I can't believe I'm saying this, but my mind is open to this project. And I didn't think I'd be there. When I saw the package from last time, I was like, what the heck's going on? And I think the reaction of other people is the same, and it is. But I don't think everybody's thinking about the big picture. And I think we need to educate the public on the big picture on this project.
And other.
Well, everything else.
On
too.
annexation.
But that's for discussion, for public
Yeah.
hearings on the comprehensive.
But
Do you wanna
right
have
now.
a charrette?
Hmm?
Do you want to have a charrette? Are we able to do
Yeah,
that?
I think we should do those kind of things
charrette?
when we can
Yeah,
safely.
we haven't had one in a while.
What's a charrette?
where we get together and we talk about the project, you invite the public in.
That's what I'm
Kind of
saying.
like what we're doing here.
Yeah, but you definitely, you have it like in an auditorium, and you have boards put up,
Or
and
somebody running.
all the stuff that my engineer company's like never
It's very
done
productive.
before, because I'm kind of the engineer that gets things done and doesn't have all these meetings and stuff. But we can have a shred about this, we can put this stuff up, we can talk to people and get their comments.
I
You
think
can get them
public-
anonymously, you can get them on record if you want.
Public education on this project is the key to this project, if it's gonna happen at all.
Yeah.
And, you know, Ron makes a good point. Where are we gonna draw the line and how are we gonna draw it?
Just this project is surrounded. That's the only reason why we're doing this. If it wasn't surrounded, if this was out on a finger, I'd be doing something different. But I really think this is a good project. Otherwise, I wouldn't have done it myself personally.
I think it's a very interesting project as of tonight. For this particular location, given the possibilities of something worse. And Ron, I hear everything you're saying. Stop giving in, draw some lines, I'm with you. But I don't know if we can draw those lines fast enough
Well,
to protect this side of the road right now.
I don't think John's in too big of a hurry.
We're putting up 3 more buildings in 3 weeks in the storage side. So I don't know. I mean, I'm willing to come back if we want to have a shred, I mean, is that something when you do the shred, or is that, can the town put that on and invite people? I mean, that's what we normally do.
I mean, you know, you can have a.
That's what we did the last
We could
time.
have a
the shred was
planning
a long time
commission,
ago.
the planning commission could have a meeting, and we
Yeah.
could call what we
It could
want.
be, I would do it in conjunction with one of the planning commission meetings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because-
Although I think we need to seriously consider timing, I mean, for you, but safety reasons, and, you know, we're gonna pack a room.
Right.
Well, you don't have to pack a room, it could be people walking around boards
Yeah, I
widely
know,
spaced in
I
their
know,
own
I
corner.
know. I'm
That's
not-
how state
I'm-
highway.
I'm
does.
I don't know.
I'm not going there.
I don't know if the timing
I'm
is
not-
right at this moment,
Uh-uh.
Well,
but because if you did it as a work session, then
Then you,
the
no one.
the rules of the work session say the public can't comment. Right, it's a work session. They can attend, but they can't
We'll
comment.
just have an open meeting, we can call what we want.
Right.
I want a public hearing, I want the public to talk and ask questions.
I do too,
And
that's
hear
what
what-
I've been
and hear
doing
what we're-
before.
and hear what we're saying.
Yes.
Yeah, right now we
And have
have,
options. Let people know what their
right now we're
options.
limited to 16 people in the room.
Yeah,
well, in a room of this size.
yeah, we're not getting any close to it anytime soon. Well, the kind of meeting you want,
Okay.
shred. I just don't think we're gonna be able to do it anytime soon. I would love to, but.
That's fine, it was just a suggestion.
No, I like it. I just think you have to wait till we can pack a room.
Well, hopefully
Will we
we'll
really
have,
tonight?
no.
Well, I would like to see a public discussion surrounding this project, spurring surrounding issues, and get the public
What
thinking
do
about
we
it,
want this town to be?
and what we're facing practically.
Yeah, let's do it.
Hope you can hold on, John, I don't know what to tell you, the COVID thing's got us all in the bind.
Yeah, there's nothing you can do about that.
Right.
All right, well, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, John.
Thank you
Appreciate
for
it. Appreciate your time.
talking.
And you did good work on that too,
Thanks.
or the architect did.
Any more public comment out there? Thanks, I'll walk away.
See you, John.
Bye now.
See you.
Can't believe my mind got cracked open.
You can. All right, Anyway, discussion of the town of Berlin resilience element. Does everybody have a copy of the resilience element? Everybody?
Yeah.
Everybody have any comments or anything tonight? Dave, anybody?
Well, I took the last 2 days and read it.
I'll just repeat itself 3 different times.
Yeah, exactly.
It's expensive, huh? I guess that's my number one comment when I look at this. The things we're proposing, the things we're talking about, trying to change the floodplain for how many years, discussions we're talking about with electric vehicles, stuff we're planning with the town, putting more trees down for canopy when we have limited parking now. I mean, I see a lot of expenses, and then as we're having this annexation discussion of, you know, not necessarily limiting revenue basis, I understand what you're saying, where if we increase the value of the house and you have more tax revenue, but when I look at this, I look at like a lot of expenses for this town, where we're already tight fundage-wise. I mean, I have individual things, but that was my number one aspect when I read over this. I saw dollar signs. It seemed a lot of like green initiatives. I don't know if there's grants that help with some of this stuff, or if the town's looking to fund all of this, or if this is just an overall kind of goal for the town to set for 10 years coming up.
I would say that's what it is. It's overarching guidance for what we should be considering as we're moving forward. First off, this was developed with quite a lot of public input. We had 4 different public meetings. We held them at the schools, and we held one at the library, and they were well attended with the consultants who prepared the document from the University of Maryland Environmental Finance Center. That's who the grant came through from. Department of Housing and Community Development and the Maryland Department of Planning. So the idea behind the grant, this was something we talked about, knowing that we had to do a comprehensive plan review this year. That's what it is. It's not a new comprehensive plan. We can make any changes we like to the comprehensive plan, or none at all. So this grant was a freebie, in other words, for us to get a resilience plan, think about environmental costs, environmental savings, what's coming up with sea level rise and climate change, and make that at least a small portion of the review and additions to the comprehensive plan. It was a way that we took the grant to do this. It was suggested to us it'll be a chapter, if you will, of the comprehensive plan. So that we satisfied that requirement at the minimum. Whatever work we do after this on the comprehensive plan would be a bonus. So that's the thought process behind it. I think it's got some good information in it, and I think a lot of it's, like you say, aspirational. And it's going to cost money. Anything worth doing, right? It costs money.
Well, there was ones I really
Just talking
liked.
about a green area around the town, that would be great. And there's a draft of it in our comprehensive plan.
Right.
But it was something that was thought of in 2010, aspirational, and that's never materialized. But it would be a good thing for the town to have. Same thing with the resilience plan. If we could do all these things tomorrow, I think we would. We all would.
And some of it I thought was really good. I mean, you looked at E1 about increasing energy efficiency within government buildings. I know normally the government's normally the first people who have to kind of move forward for the green initiatives. And I know there's grants out there through different power companies and everything for it. And I'm sure Berlin would find ways to try to tackle those grants.
We already have, like, the lighting itself and different, we've used grants for quite a lot. Even today with a new generator that we just went online with we went to the natural gas, instead of diesel. So that's a green initiative right there, cost-wise and energy and environmentally.
Sure, it was a win-win.
So this thing in entirety is plugged in, or is it Reader's Digest condensed and put into this, or that's the reason?
I'm sorry?
Does this whole thing, all 50 pages, go into the comprehensive plan?
Yes.
Just like it is, so
Yes.
it almost doubles the whole.
It's longer than the comprehensive plan, and it puts too much emphasis on this as opposed to a lot of other important stuff. I mean,
Well-
this should be condensed to 2 pages.
Well, I think that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to see, I think, tell me if I'm wrong, what you really want us to do is to try to integrate whatever that we find important and useful and reasonable in here into the comp plan, rather than just adding it to it with all the references and stuff.
What we're really looking for here is, it's not a public hearing, but you know, the planning commission is supposed to, eventually you'll have to have a public hearing because you're amending the comprehensive plan. So right now, I just wanted you to, you're giving me good feedback here already. We are going to have a public hearing of this for you to recommend it to the mayor and council, who will have a public hearing to amend our comprehensive plan. So yes, Chris, if you said, I like every page of it, that would be your recommendation to the mayor and council, that they adopted it, that draft in its entirety. Then I'll advertise for a public hearing of the mayor and council, to, just like we do for annexations, for them to say, okay, we're amending the comp plan by adding this document.
Okay, I mean, you mentioned that the grant money came, it was the Maryland Department of Planning.
I believe so.
So this says, well, I'm just reading your thing here. It just says the resilience element is currently under review by the Maryland Department of Planning and Worcester County.
Yeah, because
They're going
So, I
through
mean,
the
they're
same
gonna
thing.
review the thing that they put on anyway, so the Maryland Department of Planning is reviewing something that they mandated anyway, or not mandated.
they
but-
didn't mandate.
I know what you mean, I know they.
They put out the information that grants are available,
Okay.
and that we have to go and get the grant.
And
And
so,
they,
they're-
you
okay,
know,
I get it, I mean, they're reviewing their own thing, and then Worcester County is gonna,
because Worcester County, even when we do our comp plan, if this wasn't around, they have to approve our changes to the comp plan. That's
Okay.
done, that's state law.
I get that, but who else is doing that, can I ask? I mean, we have Berlin's doing it, is it Ocean City doing it, Pocomoke, Snow Hill, or is it just us?
Pardon me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, because I don't know their dates. It's on the, you have a 10-year period that your comp plan's good for.
Okay,
So I'm not certain of the other towns when their comprehensive plans took effect. Ours was 2010,
okay.
so within 10 years you have to review it.
I just thought it coincided with the census here. It just seemed like it coincided with the census at 2010, 20, and so on. 10
Not
year
with our
increments.
plan. With our-
No,
That
it's
was just
different,
too
it could be
convenient.
different for each municipality,
Okay,
could be different.
I mean, you went to those meetings and all that up in Chesapeake.
Every one of
County.
them. Every one of them.
Was it crowded? I mean,
We
I'm
would
not
have-
looking for a gotcha
The
question.
library, we had 20.
Okay,
Buckingham Elementary, 15 to 20. Where else did we go?
Community center? Did you do one at the community center?
We did, and we again, we had 15 to 20 over there.
okay.
And not all the same people. Once they came once, they didn't really, because they got an idea of what we were, we got a lot of input, you know, easels with, you know, papers, and, you know, what they thought they wanted to see.
Well, I know, there's a thing from ancient history about 20 years ago that the town of Berlin, there was one other town in the state of Maryland that took advantage of their grant, and it was something to do with pollution. And the only other town that took advantage of was Baltimore. It was Baltimore and Berlin. And I remember I was sitting out there when the guy made his presentation, and he started talking about my place. I got a, you know, because I sell fuel. Right? And this guy did this big presentation and all that. I hired a guy for $500. You know, Pete wasn't an attorney, but he was an environmental guy. I was scared to death. You know, and he got out here, and then this guy started piping on the whole thing, and believe me, my legs started moving. And the guy I hired held my leg down. I'm getting ready to say, "Would you effing say something here?" Anyway. So finally he started talking about it. He started throwing out the technical terms of phosphates and all that garbage at this guy. And the guy started stuttering, so I got really comfortable really quick. But it was just something, it was the most incredible thing I've ever seen. That they were talking about all the places that used to sell fuel in Berlin, which you would be amazed how many places sold fuel.
Right.
And, my my $500 came out when the guy said, he goes, you're picking on the only place that's actually monitoring what he's doing.
Yeah.
By the federal government in the state of Maryland or whatever. And I got caught up in something like that, and that's why something like this, I read this whole thing, Thank God my mother needed cataract surgery because I sat there and read this thing and I left my phone in the car. And I just, whatever, you know, I've been pissy about the whole thing, the whole 6 months here or whatever it's been.
Yeah.
Well, this
I
thing,
just something along those lines. I mean, I can remember that night. He's sitting right where these guys are down in front here. I remember him started stuttering. I'm like, yeah, I have a handicapped brother, but I just thought it was the best thing that ever could happen to him because, you know, the guy was just, it was just a big BS thing. And that's what I got out of this. You know, talking about the town needing electric cars and electric trucks, and there's no place to plug the damn thing in right now. So that means we have to have an electric station, which I give two shits about gasoline, by the way. Sorry.
yeah, but you know,
I'm just saying. I mean, you have to build a power thing.
You gotta have a power plant to make the energy to plug into, so you're not saving anything.
Yes, you are, Pete.
Well, you're burning coal.
Pete, you are.
All right, I don't want to get going here.
I don't
No,
want to.
but this is,
I'm just saying, the rabbit hole just keeps going and going and going and going.
I think
Whatever.
this-
I understand the
think
town got 20 grand, but I could get a GoFundMe going, get our money, give it back to them.
You gotta pay somebody $5,000 to distill this to 3 pages. There are some good points in here. But all we
I
need
agree
to
there's
do-
good
all we
points,
need
but my
to do
God,
is add a chapter
spread over
to our
50
comprehensive plan that says resilience is an important thing in these regards. And we should be looking to this, 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 and this. This thing here says it 10 times in 10 different ways, and nobody can read this.
Yeah.
You want simple documents that are easy to read, a comprehensive plan. This thing is longer than our comprehensive plan.
But I also don't think it doesn't answer why. So adopting a more aggressive flood standard, I get the general consensus.
Yeah.
Why is Berlin, I mean, I understand the water creeping up. Where are we at right now? If we adopt this new flood standard, what extra money are we looking at spending? What are and I understand the 100-year thing, what are we getting out of this? What are the pros and cons if we don't do this? Because that's what I kept looking for. Not just monetarily, but you can say for the environment. If we don't do this, this is what we're looking for environmentally, where we're looking at trees falling in 10 years because we're having runoff problems and everything. To me, saying no to this stuff makes me sound like a horrible person because everything in here sounds great. It's very green, very good for everybody.
Right.
But there is a realistic element where it's not feasible. So I'd like to wish there was a way to look at it and almost go, guys, these are the ones we think are really important. You guys take a look at it. But if it was even ranked where we knew some of them were more important for us to look at and we could see the cost-benefit analysis of moving forward with some of these action strategies, I think it'd be more bearable. But even for the town, because I felt like I had to read this because it was part of my job. I couldn't imagine being a citizen and sitting reading through this for 80 pages on the 6 different times I read this thing, just trying to fully grasp what it was saying, and going, the council will figure it out. I don't want to read this because it's just redundant.
And a lot of it's socioeconomic stuff we don't need to go into. This can be condensed to 5 pages.
We've gone from 3 to 5.
I estimate if I were to take this job on and distill this to its essence that's worth looking at and reading and readable, it's going to take 10 hours of time. Somebody ought to pay somebody to distill this into a readable 5-10 page resilience element to add to our comprehensive plan.
Do we want to highlight some of those things that we think ought to
I think
be
there
in
are
there?
some important points made in here. I
Right,
think
right.
Would
I think that's
it
what
be
we're- I
worth
think
waiting
that's
for
what-
the county's review, where they just send us one page and say, are they going to say, is that what did they actually write something, or the
I'll
county?
get a
right?
written response,
I
but
know you can-
they're not gonna edit it.
No,
I know they're not going to edit it, but they're just going to say, this
They're-
looks good, and
That's all.
Maybe throw
well, they're going to say
That's
it's
all.
good because
That's
they
all
don't
they're gonna
care.
That's
Same with the Maryland Department of Planning,
Yeah, they're just
And
gonna sign
they each have this probably, we're in the 3rd week now, they get 60 days to look at it, but they'll come back quicker than that.
My question is, are we wasting our time? Is the mayor and council so committed to this, they want this politically, and are they just, whatever we say, why spend time writing a readable document if they're just going to say, no, we want all this crap? Are they going to take our advice?
I can't speak for that because they haven't had a
I
hearing
know.
on it.
I know.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking we ought to develop a plan for somebody to review this, who knows what they're doing, and write a cohesive analysis of what this says in 10 pages or less. Because
He's
it
going
repeats
from 2
itself
to
all over
5
the
to
place.
10. What are you doing? He's grows.
I can do it in 10 hours. I'll charge you $300 an hour to do it. That's my price.
So that's like $2,000.
Where's the
I
GoFundMe
understand,
thing?
I understand.
Have the town attorney do it, have somebody do it.
I think that's what we're being asked to do.
Well, I'm not donating 10.
I know, I think that's.
Unless somebody's gonna say to me, yeah, we agree.
But
let's-
everything goes back to the redundancy of everything, just like tonight, talking about the Kids Branch and this project from Old Ocean City Boulevard, affecting something, a half a mile away. And then, that's part of this.
A lot of this is already in our plan.
Yeah, it's already there. That's what I'm saying. It's all redundant.
But we need to address the resiliency idea, that we should be thinking about the future.
Yeah.
And make it in a cohesive statement. And there are some important points in here that I'll give them, that we should address.
So,
All right.
My
okay,
feeling-
do you want to tell me what they are, or?
Well, that's gonna take a whole lot of time.
Got $2,000.
He said 10 hours at 300, yeah.
He's going to pages
No,
ago.
I'm not being facetious, really. I mean,
I know.
I mean,
The thing is, somebody's gotta do it.
I've heard that before.
I know.
from other-
We're 6 months in
I
a
don't mean
fan.
that. I don't
We've
mean
been
that.
saying it for 6 months.
I've heard what you said is that this is too much wording, from other members, who aren't here. That said, this is a lot of, fluff in this, a lot of bunk. So you're not
It is.
telling me anything I haven't heard of.
It's like a manual that never ends.
This is like the third time I've kind of distributed it, right? And
Exactly.
there hasn't been much interest.
Here's what I'm saying, here's what I'm
I've had it.
saying. I'm saying this. We paid them $20,000 to create this pile of bunk.
No, they
Now
paid
we
us
got-
$20,000 to put it in our.
No,
Now we need to pay somebody $5,000 to distill it to its essence and get the job done. I'm not willing to volunteer 10 hours of my time to try to rewrite this on the whim that maybe the council will buy it and maybe they won't. I think we need-
Everything we do here is based on the whim that the council is going to do what we do and what we want.
It goes back to the fire sprinklers. We didn't want fire sprinklers
Goes back to my
required.
original
And
thing
now,
talking about Baltimore and
that's the
Berlin.
consensus, that it shouldn't have been required in the first place. But
And we follow California, look at them. They could use a fire extinguisher right now.
I'm just saying to you guys, what's the practical way to approach this to get it condensed into a statement? How can we do that?
I'll discuss it. Let's put it that way.
Right.
But keep it, don't throw it away, and
Right, 10 pages or less.
we will discuss it again,
Yeah.
probably next month. And then the comp plan, especially, again, the comp plan is, there's some dry stuff in there. You're not gonna look at all those population things. We're gonna have to update that and come moving forward. All we're required to do this year is review it.
Yeah, right.
So what I would ask from tonight's discussion, you already told me what you want, is growth areas and land use. Focus on those, and if we can discuss that the next meeting, maybe in conjunction with this, then if I can show the Maryland Department of Planning that we reviewed it, we talked about page 89 or 39, we met our requirement. And you want to make changes to the text, that's going to require public hearings and an amendment to the comp plan. We can do that at any time. All we're required this year to do is review it and come up with what we'd like to change, and we can do that moving forward. If it fell into January, we could, or February. But as long as we've reviewed it, talked about it in 2020, we're fine. And that's what I was after. When I sent out the comp plan, I want you to look at it a little bit and say, I don't like page 50. I don't like page 13. And then we'll start an editing process that way. Does that sound good?
When is the comp plan due? At the end of the year, or is it?
We just have to show them, and I would do that with meeting minutes, that we've reviewed it throughout the year.
Essentially, guys, it takes time and thought and we've all got to sit down and have a meeting, spend significant
Yeah.
time, page by page.
Or we shouldn't be here, yeah.
That's correct, that's our job.
Right, right.
Right, and I know everybody's busy, and there's a lot of pages, but, because you're gonna, if you look at the comp plan, and I've looked at it a million times just for something specific, but in getting to what I'm looking for, you could look at every page and say, that's just a table of, it might be socioeconomic, how many people make between 30 and 40,000, how many make 40 to 50, and you say, I'm not looking for that right now. It's easy to go through a lot of
I think
pages
a lot of
fairly
it-
quickly, but it's more the narrative that you want, and the growth areas, I think.
I think
growth
what
areas.
Ron raised tonight is really important on this review, to get something in there about we should be seriously looking at future growth areas, restricting town expansion.
I think the essence of all that is it inevitable that we physically expand our boundaries?
We want to state that it's not.
And that's what I read in all these plans.
Yeah. And I'm with you.
And I hear that it's inevitable, but I don't believe it.
And I would say as a philosophy by the Maryland Department of Planning and by Worcester County, that development, conventional wisdom is to herd development to the towns and cities
Right.
that have the facilities,
Right.
that have the pipes, as you're saying. And Worcester County on the outskirts of Berlin does.
It's pushed everything our way.
They've moved it to us.
They pushed everything to us.
And we got to push back.
Yes.
I'm with you.
Just like you having a party and your neighbors saying, we want 50 more people there.
And
I'm with you.
that's been the conventional wisdom for many years,
The
Where there
conventional
are-
wisdom doesn't seem to be working out too well for a lot of people.
Well, if you think about it, on the grand scale, in the state of Maryland, to push that development and that population to existing areas with facilities, what are you allowing? The open areas still stay open.
Yeah, exactly, right.
That's why that conventional wisdom came from. So
Get that, until
But in
the
this
house
case-
gets too big for you to manage.
in this case, we are not the open area. We don't have any ag district in Berlin, none
But we got a whole bunch right outside of town that the county just
in
rezoned
the county.
for land use.
But in corporate,
That a
right.
party we might not want to be having.
And in corporate limits, we have none. Not a stitch ag. So that's how we evolved already in the last 60,
What
70
did they
years.
rezone? Bay Club?
What did they?
Well, not rezone, they made growth areas. They put growth areas on us.
What's it gonna
Sandy
take to
Coyne
make like
did-
an
did-
informational
did the
packet for
projections.
residents? Or like something residents could read about the pros and cons of further annexation? Because I mean, people who are wildly against annexation are gonna come out in full droves and express their discontent. I don't know if you're gonna get quite that from the group of developers, let's say, who want annexation. They're gonna be in the minority. I mean, I feel like in everything, the more educated townspeople are in everything is the best, but I don't know if the loudest voices in the room are.
For some time, personally, a couple of years now, we had to discuss, like we had a strategic plan, public meetings about 4 years ago around town. And there were different spots around town, and they were well attended, 50, 60 people at some of them, about what the future of Berlin should look like. And we had a facilitator for that. We had we paid a professional. A woman came in and she's there to run a meeting and get information out of.
Did we have grant money for that? Or did we actually?
I believe some of that was grant money.
Okay.
Okay. I don't remember all that.
Okay.
Wasn't.
I think it was
I
paid
didn't
for by
set
some-
that up. That was.
I don't think we actually paid for it. I think it was grant money.
I think it was. I think you're right, but I won't.
Well, I mean, yeah, we still.
I don't know the details. And we wanted to have the same kind of thing on growth and land use issues like Ron's saying, and growth, annexation, as we were starting to get hit. It goes back to before Oceans East, 2014, 2013 era, right when I was first here. I've been here 7 years in August. And wanted to have this, and we have not had that meeting yet, and I would like to do that.
Yes.
And I've been looking for a grant opportunity, or I've been looking to squeeze some money out of a budget to do it. And I still think we can do that, and I think we should do that. And I think your commission's the one who's gonna kind of be at the forefront of that, you know?
I mean, really, sometimes I hear Ron and Pete talk, and it changes some of the ways I think. Because I haven't
That's
heard
what's
it
good about
explained
it.
certain ways.
That's
Yeah.
what's good about it.
Right, but I don't know if there's enough people really listening. I mean, obviously there's not, and coming to these.
I think
Let me-
they're
Yeah,
all.
I know that.
Matt, let me share with you. I don't know if Pete and Chris, you remember, initially when Freeman Company wanted to do a subdivision out on the golf course. They were trying to sell, a big one, they were trying to sell it to us. And they, this is amazing, they wanted to sweeten us up, they wanted to sweeten the planning commission up. So they hired this world-renowned planner. I'm gonna have to remember his name. This guy was like world-renowned, right? You remember this?
I remember. Yes.
And he came in here
Last name is Adler.
and they said, and he comes up to give us a little talk, and not long after he started talking, the guys from Freeman started to tighten up. Because what he said was, you know, I've never been in this town before, I came in here yesterday, and do you folks know what you have here? You need, before you need to annex stuff, and here the Freeman guys are dying, you need to come in this town and inventory what you have fully. There are so many properties inside of town that should be considered upzoned or rezoned for other use. I can point them out right now. That would be more beneficial to the town and the taxpayer than plopping 600 here, over here, where you gotta send a trash truck and a pipe, you know? That's what this world-renowned planner, who spent a day here, said, you folks need to understand that you have a golden egg here and you better do it right. Another world-renowned planner said essentially the same thing when I brought him up Broad Street from the Salisbury Airport to give a talk. And as we came up Broad Street, you come up Broad Street, you get to town, all of a sudden, you're like, wow, do you guys know what you have? Don't lose it. There's the value right there, you know?
But once again, that's what I wish there would be a better way to explain that too.
Exactly. I can't do it.
Right, no.
You
But I mean,
get
that's what I think we're
world-renowned
missing.
people, you know, you get real good planners, you know, with credentials to say stuff like that, you know?
I think this commission needs to have some well-attended public hearings
When we can.
and make this particular project a central part of the discussion,
That's my idea.
because that focuses the issues.
Exactly. What do you want the town to be? Or you want your kids to grow up?
And for them to know what we're facing
Right.
in decision-making here,
Right,
with the limitations we have.
right.
We got the county wanting us to be a growth area.
Pushing stuff down our throats. And I've asked too many times for the Worcester County Planning Commission and the Berlin Planning Commission to have a joint meeting so we can talk about these things. And nobody seems to want to do it.
I think Berlin is so unique, it justifies taking a unique approach. We got to define the town and keep it defined. I've always said that. And the agricultural lands define this town. You know when you're coming into Berlin.
And you're welcome when you come in.
Well, and on this resiliency thing, if you will think about hiring somebody to condense it, I think there are points that need to be made.
And we should give them some of those things that we've gone over that we, right?
I think 10 pages of a resiliency element in our comprehensive plan is appropriate.
Make some notes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't want, even if you don't want to wait till the next meeting, just email them to me.
Well, the question is, who's going to sit down and do the work?
I don't know yet.
I know, I'm just saying.
But
That's the
we
pro-
need to
that's
do
the
our
problem.
work. We need to do our work.
I'm saying hire somebody that can do it.
I understand.
It's money well spent.
But let's give that person some of our input. too.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Okay. Thank you.
Good meeting.
Motion to adjourn, anybody?
Gary Sarman.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? You're on your own?
Thank you all.
Thank
I know it was a long
Good
night.
meeting. Good meeting. Electric car.
Yeah.
Unbelievably efficient. Reason, I gotta go have two of them.
Yeah.
Electric motor.